today we're going to start the process of making the bone broth, because it actually takes a couple of days. Because the first day, this is how I do it anyway. The first day I roast the bones, and I buy a variety of bones. So what I have is short ribs here because they're very tasty, and you may want to eat one before you start making a broth. This is a regular good bone, and buy some bones the best you can, either organic or step 4, so they're well-treated animals. This has the most marrow, and then I bought these too because it's the oxtail bones, so which has a lot of muscle in them and actually produces the most collagen. So you've heard that nose to tail. With the animal, you're getting a variety here for the parts of the animal, so it actually heals different ways in your body as well. What I do is I sprinkle them with a little oil, and I'm using a very coarse sea salt, which I will post a picture of in a little below. Because the coarse salt seems to give it a different taste, and you don't need a lot of it, but it really, you want to flavor this meat. This is what's going to make the difference, and you're going to want to eat this broth, because a lot of people say, I tried making broth and it tastes horrible, and what they did was they just boiled the bones. And there's a whole process. So you have to flavor the bones first, and then you slow cook them for a long, long time. 20 hours, 24 hours, crock pot, slow simmer on the stove, or the Instapot for a few hours. What that does is draws out all the minerals from the bones. After a certain amount of hours, I don't know if it's 16, 18 hours, those minerals are going to come into the broth. Now you're going to have a highly mineralized, nourishing, healing broth, because that draws out the calcium in the bones, and what it does is make the broth alkaline instead of acid, like a meat alone digests in your system. So now you're alkalining your system, which is very healing. And that helps to boost your immune system because you're getting rid of inflammation. It also gives you a lot of collagen, so it keeps us beautiful. It supports your adrenals because you're having the animal glandulars. And it's giving you bone strength. So it's giving you calcium to increase your bone mass as well. So this is so good for you, especially in this time of the pandemic virus in your home, so you have time for this. And that's really usually what we don't have. So the first step, these are now ready to go in the oven. You want to put it in a shallow pan because you want to get them brown to taste. So not a high edge, and you want to put it in the top half of the oven for 375 for 45 minutes to an hour. So that's the first step, and that's what we're going to do today. So the bones are cooked. You can see they're brown, and they are delicious. They're brown. You could eat these just like this because they're short ribs, so if you want to eat 1 or 2 before you put it in, that's usually what I do. This garlic is roasted beautifully. It's going to give it a nice taste in there. And then we're all going to put this in the pot and cook that. This is going to go in an Instapot for a good 3 hours after. So all these bones, just like this, are going in here. I'm going to add some filtered water because you need nice clean water. And this I like to use burdock root because it's an immune booster, and this really, really is a benefit, and we need it in these times. This helps you to not, it's going to build up your immune system, and you're not going to catch things like you would. And you don't have to cut it up. I usually cut this small and saute it when I make a soup, but with the broth, we're not going to use a lot because it is a little earthy tasting, but we're going to add a couple of just chunks like that. And I think you all know how to wash vegetables, right? You soak it in a pan with a spoon of apple cider vinegar and soak it. So this needs to be washed and soaked before I put it in. So that's going in, the garlic, all the meat, filtered water, and we are going to put a spoon of apple cider vinegar right in here, and that also helps to break down the bones and let the minerals come out sooner. So, or better or more. So we use apple cider vinegar as well. So all this is going in there, and I will show you what that looks like when that's finished. Ready? So now we are finalizing the end of dismantling this. So this is the end of the broth and the end of, you want the broth pure, and there is a lot of nourishment and a little bit of meat left in this. So I put all the meat in here, the fat, I pulled out the celery, I pulled out that piece of kombu, so that's all in here. The marrow I put here because it kind of makes the broth not so clean and pure, but this I will eat separate because I want that nourishment. Or if you have a 3-month-old baby or a child, this is so nourishing. It will help boost their immune system when they're little. And this is all for the animals, probably. But this is what's left. So we have fat, and in here I just have broth and meat, and I'm going to add some more spring water to this. You can probably see there's a tiny bit of fat, but not a lot. And in the next night, when this, after I make soup and add vegetables, and I'll probably skim off some more fat of this as well. But we had a real good amount of meat in that because I did have a lot of, between the oxtail and the short ribs, we had a lot of meat in this. So you really don't need to add anything, even if you want more. So this is the broth, the base I'm going to make my soup with. Thank you. So this is our finished product here. And this is just the broth strained. You can see how dark and rich it is from roasting the bones first. And it has the nourishment of everything we put in it, from the piece of kombu to the burdock root to garlic. So now I took this and added in it, and you can see there's a good amount of meat after I took that off the bones. I added more garlic, some celery, another piece of burdock root, carrots, and of course all these vegetables are organic, and so is the meat. And that's a nourishing serving for you. That's going to help keep your system healthy and boost your immune. And the collagen's also going to benefit you to keep you young. Thanks.